Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me, my books, and blogs on dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com, as well as on Amazon, and my books are on audio there, as well as on YouTube. Slam the Gavel. Please like and subscribe. I have a return guest on. I'm happy to have my friend Kia Walker back on. She was last on season 5, episodes 77, 112, 120, and 168. We're going to talk today about being free of the court system and overcoming and the fear of 7.5 years of prison on charges of battery and resisting arrest and 3 misdemeanors. Now, what it's like to feel like a targeted individual. I welcome you, Kia Walker. You've been through a lot. How are you now?
Um, I feel like I gained my wings so I can keep with my purpose.
Hmm.
You know, it's been, trying to escape 7.5 years plus prison time for a crime I didn't commit. Yeah,
That is so
has
scary.
yeah, it was I actually thought I was going to lose my home, literally. So but I escaped it. And just to see the key players working together and like against me, the judge, her name was Judge Deborah Schaefer, Winnebago County, the defender, Brad Morrison, the state's attorney, Andrew, can't remember his last name. Maybe was his last name. Uh, and how they lied, cheated, and stole. They stole the evidence. They lied about the case. They manipulated the evidence. And tried to pressure me. And my public defender would say to me, a 9 month period, if you sign this document that states the written charges are true, the state will all the charges. They'll erase them from your record. They'll be erased. Nope, I wouldn't do it. I would not do it. I mean, why would I lie on myself? Why would I, commit perjury,
Mhm.
you know? But for 9 months, get me to sign this document. My video of the incident, because when I blew my car horn, and that's how it all started. My video of the incident proves all the written charges were a lie.
Mhm.
So
So they wanted you to sign this document. Explain that one more time because you kind of broke up a little bit.
I'm sorry, my internet. I did see that my internet was slow. My public defender approached me at least a half dozen times and asked me or told me if if you sign this document that states the written charges are true, the state's attorney is willing to drop all charges and erase them from your record. And I flat out refused.
Hmm.
And then I thought, a couple weeks later, I thought, let me ask him to let me actually see the document. I was gonna take a screenshot, or I wanted to see that document as proof that this is really happening, right?
Right.
So I asked him for a copy. Brad Morrison was the public defender, Winnebago County in Illinois, and he refused to let me see what the document states that I would be signing.
Oh, that's scary. I wouldn't sign anything that they're not letting you see. Why would they do that? They do
Well,
this
he
all the
said,
time.
right. Well, he said, if you agree to sign the document, then I'll let you see the document. I kid you not.
Oh, that's scary. That is scary.
For 9 months, I went through that. They held me hostage in court for just over a year.
Mm-hmm.
When they arrested me, I was in jail for like 20 hours. That was
Mm-hmm.
brutal, brutal 20 hours. Because by that time, um, my arms, my legs, like everything was swollen from being manhandled. And so I became stiff. It was crazy, all in 20 hours. But for just over a year, I would have to go back and forth to court every month. They were waiting for me to miss court. They were
Uh-huh.
waiting for me to be late. So,
Yeah, and the stress of that and wondering what's going to happen to your home.
uh,
Uh,
and here I am thinking, I'm trying to get, guardianship and the ability to adopt my granddaughter. And
mhm.
this court is aware of my family's high profile case, and they're just gonna toy with me.
Uh-huh.
And it was so crazy, Maryann. Judge Deborah Schaefer was the judge in the criminal matter, right? She
Hmm.
was also the judge before I was released from the jail. They had me shackled. First of all, when I went to court to get out of jail, they had me shackled by my wrists and my ankles. Okay, literally. And I appeared in front of Judge Deborah Schaefer. Well, now I'm in criminal court, right? I appeared in front of Judge Deborah Schaefer. Now, they also towed my vehicle, okay, and I had to pay $700 to get the vehicle out.
I remember
So,
that. Yeah.
so 2 weeks later, I appeared for a hearing regarding the impound of the vehicle. That was Judge Deborah Schaefer for the hearing. So you see the conflict of interest?
Yeah.
She swore and swore and swore that she was not the judge for the hearing, that she was not the judge when I was released from the jail. She swore it over and over. And I say, Your Honor, is this on record? Like, are you
Yeah.
really saying it's on record?
That's not very honorable.
No. And she said, Yes, Ms. Walker, this is for the record. Everything I say is for the record.
Hmm.
So,
Well,
yeah, she
this
lied.
is why I'm glad you said that because this is why there should be cameras in the courtrooms as well as tamper-proof mics.
What are tamper proof? I know what tamper means, but a tamper proof mic?
Yeah, because I have been court watching and I saw a judge just turn off the microphone when a poor pro se litigant was doing her closing arguments. He just didn't want to hear it, so he just muted her. I don't think they should be able to do that. I think everything should be rolling.
I didn't know that that's what it was. What it was called tampering, microphone tampering. But yeah, you're right because in guardianship court, the judge would mute me all of the time, just repeatedly. And so her and I would be in this like little match. She'd mute me, I look and I'm trying to, and I unmute, and it went back and forth and back and forth. Oh yeah.
Well, that judge needs to be reported for that behavior.
She needs to be reported for a lot of behaviors, but
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, yeah,
this was for the guardianship court.
right.
She, yeah. So I've got my body is just all banged up. It's just, I've got two torn rotators, and I've got torn ligament in my left leg because they yanked me out of the vehicle. They've been gang stalking me. I tried to go to the hospital to get help, because I've got some issues going on with my body now. And I need surgery. And security will follow me through the hospital. They will stand outside of the doctor's door. And I do want to give you proof of that.
Hmm.
I recorded them because no one's gonna believe. Oh, Miss Walker is she's going crazy, or Miss Walker has mental illness. What she says you really can't believe, that kind of stuff, right?
Right. Right.
Proof. You know what else I have proof of? I have proof that Judge Deborah Schaefer was the judge for the impound of the vehicle. I've got proof of everything that comes out of my mouth. So you know how I escaped?
Huh. Tell me.
I contacted the Illinois Law Enforcement Standards Board in Springfield, Illinois, and I gave them all of my recordings of corruption in the court. Corruption, corruption.
So,
And they told me, give this complaint number to your public defender, and trust me, this is going to be very helpful for you. So I email Brad Morrison, the public defender. I email him this number and his supervisor, Nick. Um, and I put a couple other people on it, the chief of judge's office, this is my complaint number. It only took a couple weeks, and everything was dismissed.
interesting.
Everything was dismissed. Corruption in the court, baby. All you
Oh,
have to do is document everything. That's what record means. Document. Okay? Document. Yep.
that's so important. So now you said you contacted the Illinois Law Enforcement
Uh,
Standard Board?
yes, in Springfield. I could have done, I think they have one in Chicago. I wanted far away from this area. So I chose Springfield, Illinois. And unfortunately, the evidence that I, gave to the Illinois Law Enforcement Standards Board in Springfield, once the court dismissed all charges, all two felonies, three misdemeanors, I noticed some tampering with my evidence that I gave to them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there was the evidence was so damaging to the court, damaging to the lawyers in the state, damaging to the Winnebago County Sheriff's Department, that they probably didn't even want to put it in their system.
Oh.
They
Hmm.
viewed it and said, okay, make sure everything is dismissed on this woman. Yeah.
Oh, it's so smart you did that. I remember when you called me and you told me this happened, it was like, I couldn't believe that happened. You know,
Everything is
dismissed.
crazy.
Ah, that is crazy. Yeah. And how do you trust anything anymore?
I don't trust. It is so unfortunate that you don't trust. When you're targeted, even when you're not, but when you're targeted, how intense that is.
Mhm.
You asked me the last time we met for a podcast. You asked me, well, how do you know people are following you? Like, how do you know you're on the list, so to speak, right? Well, when I lived in Forest Park, Illinois, the the FBI was right across the alley from me, literally. And then a year later, the person who lived right next to the FBI, they were moving. So I decided that I was going to move next door to the FBI.
Mhm.
And they would come and they would go and I'd say, "Hi, how are you?" You know. Um, and right now I'm in Rockford, Illinois, and they are right in back of me. Literally, they are in back of me. That's how I know.
Well, you are paying them tax dollars. Do they ever knock on your door? Anything like that? Probably not.
No, but I'm being followed.
Hmm.
Like when I went to Colorado to try to get more information on guardianship of my granddaughter, before I made it to the court, they already knew who I was. I tried to be on the down low, you know. Nope. As soon as I approached the window, they would come. They would have a conversation. They would be looking at me from a distance. It was like, attention, everyone. Miss Walker is in the room. Like you can see them like preparing to deal with me.
Hmm.
They tried to intimidate me. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Um, I've dealt with that in courthouses myself. Don't go in there if you don't have to.
And Judge, I know I'm going back from different situations, but Judge Deborah Schaefer, when I first started going to court on this uh, unlawful arrest, Judge Deborah Schaefer had me in a courtroom where there was like 25 or 30 black individuals waiting to see the judge. Okay. In an all white courtroom, predominantly white, area that we live in, there would be a room filled with black people
Mm,
for about maybe 2 or 3 months. And then their intimidation tactic was to remove me from that court and put me one on one with them, like closed doors.
hmm.
It was just me and the judge. Oh, yeah. So, and I told her, I said, this court has isolated me. Yeah.
Well, that's creepy. People don't understand that way. They close the doors. Sometimes they don't even allow court watchers or your family members to go in. They make them stand out in the hall or wait on Zoom and just don't let people in.
Well, it's an intimidation, tactic.
Yeah,
But
it's sick.
I still wouldn't sign that document.
Yeah. You see, and people have to understand you have to stick to your guns and not even this even goes like with CPS when they enter your home and there's a false allegation, like don't sign anything. Because I think I told you that they handed me a blank piece of paper with just my name, and my name was underlined and the date. And she said, sign above your name. And I said, well, why? And she said, well, it's to say I was here. Well, I'm under duress and I signed it, but I didn't think of what that could be attached to. What could they attach that paper to?
That happened to me when they were releasing. I wanted to be released from the jail on for this unlawful arrest, and they're like, you know, um, the public defender said, if you sign this document, then they'll release you, and you can, go to court on the charges. And I'm just like, where's the document? And let me go. That's under duress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, it's a very scary predicament to be in.
Mm-hmm. It's so just like awful. It's awful.
Right. Now, when you
And
go ahead.
and I'm my friends who know me, I don't play the black card, okay? Honestly. This is my situation and this is what's happening in my life, and this is my truth.
Mhm,
You
mhm.
know, the racial tension is just even more so. I never knew it was this bad. I never knew. I never knew. I went from Oak Park, Illinois to Rockford. My friends were like, Rockford, why do you want to move to Rockford? I'm like, oh, I found this beautiful home, affordable home, it's a new beginning. And
Mhm.
should have never done it.
Mm.
Never done it.
Well, who would have known all of this would have happened?
All because of Deputy Luciano Pazzi.
Hmm.
Everyone beware. Luciano Pazzi said I battered him. I used my car door and battered him. Like I struck him with the car door. A complete lie. And if I had known what to do to get escape,
Hmm.
2 felonies and 3 misdemeanors, the other times I've been falsely accused, I would have. Now I know what to do. Now I know what to do. See, I didn't know I had a voice. I had no idea I had a voice because the lawyers were working together. Every time I would call a lawyer, you know, they talk to the public defender, the court, and they're all in cahoots.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up because they all talk. And, if you go into a law office trying to hire an attorney, and I did have an attorney that was going to take my case, but then he called me back a couple hours later and he says, "No, I can't take your case now." Why? Because my previous attorney got a hold of him.
Mhm.
I knew that for a fact.
Oh yeah. They no matter what kind of lawyer you're looking for, even when I'm, like right now, I'm trying to find a lawyer to help me with guardianship and then the ability to adopt my granddaughter. I'm still trying, right? But they're talking to each other. Now, I just recently had a video call with my granddaughter. Haven't spoken to her in just over 1 year. Have
Oh,
not spoken to her. And I could tell that the lawyers that I was contacting, and I'm still contacting, spoke to them and they wanted to put uh, their narrative on record, you know. So they used let's Stella talk to grandma
mhm.
so that we can put this on the Zoom call. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
yeah, yeah.
And that's so wrong because I don't know. I love being with my grandmother. And what harm would it do, even if she were to visit you, I don't know, every other weekend or something, just to know her roots?
Yeah.
It's a shame.
It is a shame. It's a shame that when I ask my granddaughter just simple questions and she's talking to me, it's unfortunate that she has to look up at the person in the room before she answers.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I just did a podcast last week where we were talking about the same thing. It was a podcast with William Sewell I did on Friday. I think that was the 7th. But he said the same thing. You're on, a FaceTime and the kid's like looking around or, looking, oh, wherever that parent see, people don't realize when you can't see your kids, these are the games the other party is playing, which is child psychological abuse.
You said it perfectly. It's abuse. It's abuse. And go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, and these judges don't care. If these judges saw these videos, well, if a normal judge saw these videos, not a psychopath, because as you know, I think these judges should have, psych evals every 18 months, lie detector tests once a year, and random drug screening. Random. I mean, they're playing with people's lives, and so do doctors and nurses, so I don't see why they can't go through the same process.
Mhm.
But if you had a normal judge look at that video, they should be ticked off.
Oh yeah, because there was a professional in the room, and they too would look up to get an answer. Yes,
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
yes,
Like
yes.
a professional, like a psychologist.
Can you see me?
Yeah, yeah. So these, these third-party parasites that these courts appoint, these custodial evaluators, psychologists, and they appoint their friends, friends, friends.
Yes, they do.
Ah, and they can't make a decision for themselves, but when they're in court, they make the decision for the judge, so the judge doesn't have to feel guilty.
Right. Yeah. And I was wondering, why is this professional like, rubbing on my grandbaby and it's okay to talk. Are you okay?
Oh,
And it's just
that's
like
manipulation.
she's always okay with grandma.
Right.
Yeah.
See, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That's the manipulation tool to install fear and possibly hatred into that child, which again circles back to child psychological abuse, which is in the DSM-5 V995.51. And it really is a crime.
Yeah, it's a crime and shame.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was
And,
very disturbing.
yeah. And so you haven't talked to her in over a year. And now
Right.
you don't know what they've been telling her.
I can only imagine lies, lie after lie after lie. Yeah. And you know what I said to her? I said, because we were talking about, she's 10 years old, she's getting older. And I'm like, I'm really just so excited that you'll be a teenager soon. And because you'll have access to grandma.
Right. Right.
And I said, you can call me whenever
Yeah.
you want. Whenever you want, you'll have access to grandma. She liked that idea.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing parents fear is when the child is bought off. Like, we'll buy you a car if you don't see mom or dad or grandma. I don't trust what can happen.
Hmm.
I mean, my, well, I won't say that, but I had the president judge of the Erie County Courthouse in 2015 sail me down the river. I don't know what that was about, but that's what installed the child psychological abuse that was being done to my kids as he passed me on to another child psychological abusive judge. So, when does this cycle stop? Because I don't want to see your granddaughter get bought off as my children have been.
She's already bought off. She's been bought off a few times.
Oh, yes, yes.
'Cause I remember when I was in guardianship court in Cook County, I got an email from the guardian ad litem. And in the email, it said, Kia, we are very concerned about Stella. We don't know where she is, where she's staying, or if she's ever coming back.
Well,
Okay. It
how
was
long ago
all,
was that?
this was in 2022 or 23. Um, it turns out my granddaughter state lines. She was around 7 years old, 8 years old. No, she was wrong, I believe. She crossed state. Someone took her. The lawyer who had guardianship of her took her across state lines to California, and my granddaughter was found to be with Hulu TV.
Mhm.
And Hulu TV, Peter Brennan and his wife, Lisa Brennan, she was staying with the two of them in California, in the middle of guardianship court in Cook County, Illinois. She was found to be in California, and the court knew it. That email was a cruel hoax on grandma. I know it sounds crazy. This is why
No,
I have to give my story in little spurts.
yeah, it's so this guardian ad litem, this third party parasite, sends you an email that they allegedly don't know where this child is at. I'll bet they did.
Yeah, they knew. What did they think I was going to say? Oh, no more Stella. What did they think I was going to do? Just put my petition for guardianship off to the side and move on? No. It was part of the court's plan because Hulu TV, Heather Mack, her mom, and the former foster mother um, in Indonesia, they have a financial contract with
Right.
Hulu. So they were Hulu TV, which is Peter Brennan and his wife Lisa Brennan, were taking pictures and videos for their movie, film, and documentary.
Did that ever come out?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Huh.
They're working on it. There are several people writing books about the story. I don't know all of the contracts that are out there, but they're expected to make millions of dollars.
Hmm. Off of a child.
Yes. So they were taking even Disney. She went to Disney during that. Yep. And then Heather's family in federal court said that they wanted $250,000 of what Heather Mack would make off of the movie, film, and documentaries. They wanted part of the money. So the court awarded the uncle, Bill Weiss, $250,000 of what Heather and Diana Roque Ellis, who was also a petitioner for guardianship, yeah, $250,000 because he wanted part of it.
Ah,
Yep.
I I just feel bad. I mean, I don't know how you handle like this anger. This would anger me if this was my grandchild.
Yep. We're gonna have to do another podcast just on my grandbaby because there's you know it needs to be out there. It needs to be talked about.
Hmm.
Nothing's gonna hold me back. I will always be her voice, whether I have guardianship of her or not, whether I'm able to adopt. It does not matter. She is finally out of the basement. She was in the basement sleeping on a couch with this adult man, Lisa Hellman's son. Lisa is Heather's cousin. So Lisa has guardianship of my granddaughter. My granddaughter is finally out of the basement with this man. She was sleeping on a couch in a general area, and her son had a room without a door. A
Mm.
curtain divided them. And I think my TikTok posts regarding the matter helped remove my young granddaughter. She was what, 8, 9 years old? Now she's 10. She's finally out of the basement with this man.
Oh,
Because my profile pic has, this man and the situation in my profile pic. I'll be removing it now that she's out of the basement though. But yeah.
oh, geez, how sad. I mean, that's why I'm so glad you came on to speak. And a lot of people are so, they're afraid to speak out, but you've overcome a lot of things.
Mhm.
Yeah, by the grace of God.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Whether it's the police, it's the judges, it's the court, it's just like the doctors lying on my medical record.
Hmm.
I recorded the doctors lying on my medical record. And when I questioned, why did you write this? This horribleness? Why did you write this? This needs to be changed. The
Hmm.
doctor said, I have to figure out how to change it. Oh, why? Why do you have to figure it out? Like, why can't you just change it? And she said to me, because of the US government. I kid you not. I recorded it. Because at that point, I knew she was lying. Like, how can a doctor lie on you? She was the one that went to testify in guardianship court for me and
Hmm.
got on the stand and started lying. Kind of blew my head, blew my mind away. And I realized what she was doing. And so I started documenting,
Hmm.
recorded it, recorded it.
A lot
Because
of
no one's
people are
going to
doing
believe
this.
me. No one's going to believe me. You see how black I am? You're talking
Mhm.
about like these are millionaires. This is Hulu TV involved. It has a contract. This is everyone's trying to make money off of my granddaughter. You know, I'm going against billionaire companies, and they're targeting me in every way.
Mm.
All because grandma hasn't given up on guardianship and the ability to adopt.
Mhm.
High profile case. Yep.
Definitely. Um, I'm so glad we spoke again because I hadn't have you had you on for a while. And how can people reach you if they have any questions?
They can reach out to me on TikTok at Grandma Kia. The profile picture might not look like me; it might be whatever. But
Mhm.
Grandma Kia, Grandma KIA on TikTok.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, and also, if anyone has any questions, they can come through me as well at dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. And do you have any advice for grandparents or parents going through this?
You know, if you're like me and nothing will hold you back, you know, just keep your head up. And I mean, you're a warrior, so like you're unstoppable, and you have a purpose. And this is all for my granddaughter, who doesn't deserve this, whose life she's had. She was brought into this world in a very horrible situation,
Hmm.
and I am her voice. Um, don't stop. Don't stop.
Hmm. Well, thank
Don't
you.
let
Oh,
let
go ahead.
anyone stop.
Definitely. Well, hey, don't jump off, okay? Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these courtrooms. I'm your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube. Please like and subscribe, Apple iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google, and other platforms I don't know about. Again, feel free to buy me a coffee to help keep this podcast going. Thank you, Kia Walker, for your triumphant victory, thank goodness, and keeping
Yes.
up the fight for your granddaughter. Thank you so much.
Thank you.